Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about scaffolding tools. So as you know, learning preferences are directly related to scaffolding tools. And so one of the biggest misconceptions around learning styles or learning preferences is that the focus should be on matching our teaching approach to our students' learning style to improve learning. But really what we need to do is encourage the processing of new information by using as many different learning styles as possible, because that stimulates more connections in the brain. The more connections in the brain, the better we process information. So if we think about VARK, which is visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic, these are the learning preferences. People with a read-write preference tend to process information displayed in words. So this is text-based things, lists, essays, manuals, reports, etc. Those with a visual preference, they like maps and spider diagrams and charts and flows and that type of thing. But they don't just like pictures for the sake of pictures, so we want to make sure that we're inserting images and diagrams that are directly related to the content. Learners with an oral or auditory preference, they like to have discussions or lectures, sometimes web chats can suffice, and they even like to talk through things aloud. Those with a kinesthetic preference, they like concrete experiences. So in an online environment, providing demonstrations or asking students to work through simulations are really ideal. So when we talk about scaffolding, we're really talking about an instructional strategy that we use with all students in the absence of struggle. And that includes breaking up the learning into chunks and then providing a support tool with each chunk. And we do this by activating their prior knowledge and taking complex items and breaking them, or tasks, and breaking them into smaller, easier, more doable steps. We want to make sure that we're providing an example of what the desired outcome is. We could provide chants or mnemonic devices, graphic organizers, which tend to help with that visual framework piece, and then also helping with key vocabulary terms that we would provide before they start reading a text. When we think about scaffolding learning, we want to think about the zone of proximal development. And zone of proximal development is the distance between the distance between what a student can do by themselves and the next learning that they can be helped to achieve with competent assistance. And so if we think about the zone of proximal development and then the need for scaffolding, we can look at Tina Straveris' work. One of the most important skills an instructor brings to the online learning environment is the ability to help learners build effective learning strategies to improve their thinking. So we scaffold instruction at the beginning in an effort to break down the concepts and help students understand the material being presented. There is a variety of learning support tools that we already offer and ones that you guys have already started to create. So for example, we have procedural tools like course syllabi and the Writing Center or the library, metacognitive tools like roadmaps and checklists, templates and worksheets, conceptual tools like study guides, outlines, graphic organizers, and strategic tools like probing questions that we would put in discussion forums, examples, and supplemental resources. Keep in mind that we use these tools to support learners, to help augment the content, provide alternative examples, proactively support them, and use these resources as just-in-time support. Here's some examples of learning support tools that other instructors have created. So overviews or summaries, worksheets, worked examples, guided notes, definitions, outlines, study guides, alternative examples, probing questions, hints, and tips. This is probably one of my favorite ways to understand how to use the chunking concept. So I don't know about you, but when I go to the grocery store, I just have a list of items that I need. They're not in any particular order except for maybe the order of where I found them in my house, right? So there might be things from the pantry, things from the refrigerator, things from the freezer, or just things off the top of my head that I remember that we need. They are in absolutely no particular order whatsoever. That is this unchunked list. So when I go to the grocery store with this unchunked list, it is inevitable that when I get all the way to the bottom of my list, there's something that I need from the opposite end of the grocery store because I didn't chunk my list. However, if I chunked my list by frozen foods, dairy, bakery, fruits, and vegetables, then I might not have to spend as much time walking back and forth across the grocery store because I've chunked it by type of food. So if you translate this to what we do in the course room, we can take course material and chunk it into smaller, easier to digest bites, so to speak, so that the students can more easily access the content. This is an example of a learning support tool that's a knowledge check. So it's a way for students to just access the content in a visual and a read-write way that allows them to really understand the content in a more small and accessible way. So what you see here is an example of a video, and I put the link at the top so that you guys could copy the link down. It's a really great video that has a kind of a smooth beat and has lots of words that come across the screen, so it hits a number of learning styles. It hits visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, and it will do a really good job of showing you how you can cross over on multiple learning preferences. That's all I have for you tonight. So if you have any questions, as always, please feel free to give me a call. My phone number is on the screen as well as my email. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me, and I will give it right back to Lynn.